and welcome to Fantasy Football by Ben. Today I'll be talking about my wide receivers 16 through 30. I hope you enjoy. At number 16, I have Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin just got an extension. He was franchise tagged. And I do think that he's going to have a really good season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that offense is going to be really good. And I ranked Chris Godwin at 16 because I think Mike Evans will have a better season because he scores more touchdowns. But I do think that Chris Godwin will have a great season also. At number 17, I have a guy that was traded within the last couple weeks, and that's Kenny Golladay. I don't know how great he's going to be on that offense, but Kenny Golladay as a receiver in itself, he's 6'4", and they call him Babytron for a reason. So I do think that he is going to have a really good season this season. But as of right now, he is on the Giants, and I think he's their leading weapon offensively until Saquon Barkley comes back. And if not, Saquon Barkley's coming back right away. But I do think that he's going to have a really good season, and Daniel Jones likes throwing the ball deep, and Kenny Golladay is a really, really good deep threat receiver. And so I think it's a perfect match for Kenny Golladay in that offense, and I think he's going to have a really good season as long as he can stay healthy, because last year he did not stay healthy at all, and he did not look very good. I mean, he looked good when he played, obviously, but it did not look very good for his resume when he's sitting out of a lot of games from what people would know as like a minor injury to most players, and players would play through it and wouldn't sit out 10 weeks in a row because of it. Number 18, I have DJ Moore. So the Carolina Panthers just added Sam Darnold, so I do think that might help their offense potentially. I don't know how accurate he's going to be, but I do think that Matt Rule is a really good coach, really good offensive coach, really good designer, and I'm not even sure if Sam Darnold's going to take the win starter role over Teddy Bridgewater, but now that they got rid of Curtis Samuel, I think that, and Robbie Anderson's going to have a good season, I think, as well, and DJ Moore. So I have DJ Moore ahead of Robbie Anderson because, last year Robbie Anderson probably was their number one wide receiver for most of the year, but I think DJ Moore could take that role again this year, and he's still young, and he's developing, and I think that hopefully they utilize him more than just a deep threat in that team, in that offense. At number 19, I have Robert Woods. So the Rams offense, I think, got a little bit better with adding Matthew Stafford, and so I think that this season could be a really good season for Robert Woods, probably one of the best in his career, and he's never really been a big touchdown guy, but he's got a lot of receiving yards the last couple of years that he's been with the Rams, and so with that offense, I think that a big part of their game is going to be passing. I mean, their quarterback's Matthew Stafford, so I do think that Robert Woods is going to have a really great season this season. Number 20, I have a guy that was kind of disappointing last year, but the rookie on his team was so phenomenal that it kind of blew Adam Thielen's stats away, and that's who I have at number 20. It's Adam Thielen. I think that with Kirk Cousins potentially getting more used to having Justin Jefferson as like a target, I think that Adam Thielen will feel a little bit less pressure, and I'm not sure how many number one corners are going to cover Adam Thielen always now, and I think that more number one corners are going to kind of lead toward Justin Jefferson because of the season he just had. And I don't even know if Adam Thielen's going to stay healthy the whole season, but if he does, Adam Thielen's top 15, top 20 wide receiver in fantasy terms, and I do think that Adam Thielen will have a great season like he's had in the past. At number 21, I have Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is probably a top 15 talented wide receiver, maybe top 10 even, and I think that if he comes back fully healthy, because last year only played 7 games, I do think if he comes back fully healthy, he's probably a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy. And talent-wise, he definitely is. So I think that his potential is very high. I just don't know when he's going to come back and if he's going to be fully healthy right away. And also, when he was out last year, they were playing pretty well. They made the playoffs, so that's pretty good. But I do think their offense gets a little bit better with Odell being there, and that makes Baker Mayfield a better fantasy relevant quarterback then, but until I know that Odell is fully healthy, I won't rank him inside my top 15 yet. Number 22, I have kind of a guy that was a really good rookie last year, but he was kind of under the radar as well, and that was Brandin Aiyuk. Brandin Aiyuk was really, really good wide receiver for the 49ers last year, and since they traded up in the draft, I'm expecting them to draft a quarterback, potentially, and so if they do, and it's a guy that likes throwing to outside receivers and less to tight ends, I do think that Brandin Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel will have really great seasons, but I have Brandin Aiyuk a little bit ahead of Deebo Samuel because I think that Brandin Aiyuk is probably a better wide receiver, and he's got really good size and length, and he's got really good hands, and he had a really good season last year. So I do think that in that offense, they'll try to utilize him more. Kyle Shanahan's a really smart coach, and so I do think that they'll use Brandin Aiyuk more in that offense when they get a better quarterback, potentially. At number 23, I have Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett got a really big extension over the offseason, and in that offense, he's a must-have offensive player for the Seattle Seahawks. I think that Russell Wilson's go-to guy when he needs to is Tyler Lockett, but DK Metcalf is the number one wide receiver in that offense, I think, or this next year he will be if he wasn't last year. And so I'm expecting a big season out of both of them, but I think Tyler Lockett's going to kind of take the back seat to DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett will be a really good fantasy receiver anyways, but I don't know if he'll be as good as he's been in the past. I think that Russell Wilson will look more towards DK Metcalf this season. At number 24, I have Cooper Kupp. So kind of with the same thing when I was talking about Robert Woods, was saying that Matthew Stafford's out of the offense. They're going to be a lot heavier passing offense, and I think Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback than Jared Goff, and I would say most would probably agree with that as of right now. And Cooper Kupp is going to also benefit from having Matthew Stafford as his quarterback, but I don't know if it'll be as much because Matthew Stafford has a little bit better of an arm than Jared Goff, and Robert Woods is, in his career, has been more of a deep threat kind of guy, and Cooper Kupp's been more at the line of scrimmage. And I mean, Sean McVay's offense typically is like little screen stuff, little short passes that their quarterback would do, but I think it was because Jared Goff wasn't as big armed as a guy like Matthew Stafford is. And so I do think that Cooper Kupp might not benefit as much, but I think he'll have a really good season again this next season in fantasy. But I don't know if he'll be as good as Robert Woods, who I have ranked 5 spots ahead of him. So I personally think that Robert Woods will have a really good fantasy season, and Cooper Kupp will also have a really good season, but not as good. He's more of a touchdown kind of guy, though, but he also catches a lot of passes. So Cooper Kupp is very fantasy relevant, but I don't know if he is going to be as good as Robert Woods this year in fantasy terms. At number 25, I have CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was really good for the Cowboys last year, and I'm kind of interested to see how they utilize him this next year, if he starts taking the number one role from Amari Cooper or not. And also it really depends if Dak Prescott's going to be back to start the season or not. And if he is, then I think CeeDee Lamb is probably he's probably top 20 wide receiver in fantasy if Dak Prescott starts the season. But I think that CeeDee Lamb in that offense is really good. And last year he played really well. And he took that role of the wide receiver 2 on that team. And so I'm kind of interested to see how well CeeDee Lamb will do in his second season, because coming into the draft, I think CeeDee Lamb was kind of an early draft pick because he had the tools of a good wide receiver, and he was really good in college. So I do think that CeeDee Lamb could take over some games where he's like the number one wide receiver because Amari Cooper is being double covered or something, but I think this could be a really good season for CeeDee Lamb. Man, I'm really liking these rookies from last year. At number 26, I have T. Higgins, who was also a rookie last year. And I think that T. Higgins last year, at the end of the year, pretty much was the main wide receiver on that Bengals team. I mean, Tyler Boyd got kicked out of that one game. And pretty much from that game on, I would say that T. Higgins was the number one wide receiver in that offense. And he's the number one outside receiver. They got rid of A.J. Green, or A.J. Green didn't re-sign with them. So I do think that this is going to be a really good season for T. Higgins, who I have at number 26, and I really like those rookies from last year, so I do think that this could be a really good season for T. Higgins again. At number 27, I have Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson last year is probably most known for dropping a lot of passes, and he did drop a lot of passes, so it's a pretty good reason to know who he is. But I do think that as a receiver, when he was healthy and he didn't get hurt during the middle of the game or didn't play, he was probably their number one wide receiver. And he got the most targets on the team, and he caught the most passes. So I do think that this next season, they just signed Juju to a small contract. I think that Deontay Johnson is probably the most targeted receiver next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Big Ben really likes him, and he likes Eric Ebron. And so I do think that this next season that Deontay Johnson will have a really great season, and hopefully he can stay healthy the whole season. Knock on wood. that he can stay healthy the whole season and play every single snap that he should play. At number 28, I have his teammate, Chase Claypool. And I think that Chase Claypool kind of mended his own form last year. I think once Ben Roethlisberger started throwing him the ball, he realized how great of a player he was. I mean, obviously, they already knew how great of a player he was, but I think once Ben Roethlisberger started throwing the ball to him, then he was like, man, this guy can catch a lot of passes. And he's known as Mapletron or whatever. And so I do think that he could have a better season than Deontay Johnson. That's why I ranked him 28-27. And so I think that Chase Claypool is a beast and potentially could have a really good season. And we'll see who Ben Roethlisberger likes more. I think that he'll like Deontay Johnson more, but Chase Claypool might catch 4 passes a game for 80 yards, and Deontay Johnson might catch 6 passes for 60 yards, or a touchdown kind of thing. And so I think that they're going to be very similar in fantasy terms, but I think that Deontay Johnson is going to be a little bit more of Ben Roethlisberger's favorite target. At 29, I have DJ Chark. I think DJ Chark is pretty interesting because they have the number 1 pick. So it's pretty much guaranteed that they're probably going to pick Trevor Lawrence. And so I do think that DJ Chark, if they do get Trevor Lawrence, is more valuable for fantasy terms because I think they're going to become more of a pass-heavy kind of offense. I mean, obviously James Robinson's still there and he's going to be a really good running back, but I think that DJ Chark will find more value. And last year, he didn't play the whole season. He didn't actually play that many times. There was a couple weeks that I'd look and DJ Chark's just out because of certain reasons. And as long as that doesn't happen again this next season, I think that DJ Chark has the potential to be a top 20 fantasy wide receiver. And last year, he just really wasn't because their quarterback situation was weird and James Robinson was really good, so then they got the ball to him a lot. And so I do think that DJ Chark, if he plays more than he did last year, could have a really good season this next season in fantasy. At number 30, I have Brandin Cooks. Brandin Cooks is pretty interesting because I don't really know if Deshaun Watson's going to be their starting quarterback by the start of the season or not. He's getting so many things pushed against him, and a lot of people are coming out and saying things, so I don't really know if Deshaun Watson's going to be the starting quarterback or not. And so I'm kind of interested to see what that offense is like if they don't have Deshaun Watson. And so I rank Brandin Cooks at 30 because I don't really know what that offense is going to be like. Last year, Brandin Cooks, when he was healthy and he was playing, was definitely a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy. And so I'm not really sure what to expect out of him this season if Deshaun Watson doesn't start the season right away. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to ring the little bell so you get post notifications every time I post. You have to click all. You have to click the little bell on the side and click all. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Peace.